In today's video, we're going to go over the art of attraction and how different ages and different age groups affect whether women find you attractive and what they find attractive specifically. So let's get right into it. So on this side, on the left column, we have ages 18 to 29, and on the right side, we have ages 30 plus. So let's get right into it. All right, number one is going to be the face. Number one is going to be the face if you are between the ages of 18 and 29, and I assume that most of you are. And this is also going to be the same if you're under 18. So just kind of keep that in mind. Obviously don't watch these videos without your parents' consent, but do keep that in mind. So 35% of overall attraction is going to be from the face. So if you were to cut that into a pie chart, it is going to come from the face. It's definitely the biggest aspect of attraction up until the age of 30. And even after 30, it's still a huge component, but it's not the end all be all. All right. So make sure you have this locked down. I know most people that are within this community are hyper fixated on their face. That's good. You just don't want it to become an obsession because it's only 35% of the overall part of attraction, right? So number two, for ages 18 to 29 is going to be interpersonal skills. I talk about this all the time about how you have to have social skills. You absolutely have to have social skills. If you don't know how to interact with women, if you don't know how to interact with people in general, right? So if you're with a woman and you go out and you show that you don't have the competence to talk to people, whether you're at a restaurant or you run into people that you know, or you need, like if you go out to get a drink and you need to ask the bartender to get a drink, you need to have the interpersonal skills to know how to communicate and not look weird. So interpersonal skills is very, very important. I don't care what anybody in the black pill community says about height is more important than all these. It's just not true. It's not true. And if you ever have a black pillar say that, tell them to cite a source or give a study because there's no studies on it. It's just not accurate. But we'll get into height later in the video. So make sure you guys are competent in interpersonal skills because this is going to make up like another 20 to 25% of the pie chart. I don't have an exact number on that. I specifically only have it for the face. But so it's very important to be good socially. You don't have to be like James Bond. You don't have to be ultra charismatic, but you do need to be able to have a social interaction and not come across as weird, right? Also, something I want to add to this is if you are talking to women, you should not be talking about, oh, you have a negative canthal tilt, or did you know that if you have, like, you shouldn't be talking about stuff within the realm of the black pill community because you come across as like an incel. You do not want to do that. It's very weird. Have some common sense, guys. Come on. All right, number three is going to be emotional stability. Whether people want to believe it or not, emotional stability is so important when it comes to attraction to women because what it says is that you're not going to endanger her life, right? She doesn't care if how tall you are if you don't have emotional stability. Or she doesn't care how good looking your face is if you don't have emotional stability. And remember, I'm talking more about longer term relationships, right? So when you have emotional stability, and you show that you can be a kind person, I'm not saying be kind all the time to everybody that you interact with, but if you can be kind to her and you're not going to, be double texting and you're not going to be having these emotional swings where maybe one day you're angry and the next day you get mad or you get all needy, that is very attractive to women when you can just stay very even keel because when you are emotionally stable, it says one that you're not going to endanger her and she can trust your emotions, and two, it also shows that you have the emotional capacity and ability to have a kid one day with her because even if women say they don't want kids on a biological level, they do. So keep this in mind. Emotional stability is very, very important. All right, number four for the ages of 18 to 29 is going to be height. And this one bothers me because height has always mattered. It always will matter. But just the amount of emphasis that the black pill community puts on height is absolutely insane and it's garbage. It is absolute garbage. Like I said, height matters. Height will always matter, but it's not going to matter over any of the three that I just listed below. It is very important. But when there's looks maxers out there saying that the quote unquote best height is between 6'2" and 6'8", you guys should be very careful who you're trusting as your source. And you should ask those types of looks maxers, where is your information? What study are you pulling this from? Because it's an absolute joke. I think we've gone over this before in other videos, but I'll go over it again for the new viewers. So the ideal height for a male is going to be between 6 foot and 6'3", and that is universally, right? And if you are below that height or above that height, it does not mean that you are at a major disadvantage. It really depends what height you're at, but you can still get plenty of women. And actually, for long-term relationships, the ideal height that was found in a study was that a male that was 5'11" had a better chance at getting a long-term relationship than a guy that was 6'5". So imagine that, black pill community. So I'm not saying that being 5'11" is better than being 6'5". I would rather be 6'5". But what I am saying is that height is not the end-all be-all like they will try to convince you it is. So really, really take that into consideration when you're doing your research, or, when you're thinking about doing things like limb lengthening surgery, which is very extreme, by the way. But again, if somebody wants to do that, I'm not going to completely fault them. But yeah, just if you are under a certain height and you don't think you're tall enough, absolutely do not all of a sudden say it's over or you're cooked, because it's just not true. All right, number 5 at this age is going to be money. Money, it matters, but it doesn't matter a significant amount. It's actually, if we were to do a number 6, it would actually be probably voice. And voice and money are pretty close, so that kind of tells you it's important, but it's not that important. Women don't really care. Between ages 18 and 29, they're more looking for potential. They're looking at guys and looking who has the traits to be successful down the line and who is going to be capable or have a good job. What kind of habits does he have? They're looking at these from a biological standpoint. So, because these are big indicators that you could have money one day, right? So that's very, very important. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the ages 18 to 29. These are going to be the 5 primary. It's going to be face, interpersonal skills, which is just another word for social ability, emotional stability, height, money, right? And when it comes to emotional stability, I do want to add one thing. This is why women, like they say, nonchalant men are attractive. It's because of this. It's because they're emotionally stable. That is why they find that kind of behavior attractive. Okay, that wraps up 18 to 29. Now let's go on to 30 plus. So even if you're not 30 yet, please watch this because you will be 30 one day. So number 1 is going to be money. And it really doesn't matter any other aspects of attraction. They matter, but they are not going to come close to money. Money is going to be pretty much everything once you leave, or once you get to the age of 30 plus, right? And you kind of leave this age group. So that's why you see a lot of guys that go and they have a lot of fun in their 20s and their teenage years, and they think that they're on top of the world. And then they get in their 30s and all of a sudden women don't want to date them. Because it doesn't matter how good looking your face is or how tall you are if you don't have money. And a lot of those guys that don't have money also don't really have or they have interpersonal skills, but they don't have emotional stability. So if you don't have money and you don't have emotional stability and you're over 30 and a woman is on a biological clock, why would she want to be with you? Why would she want to start a family with you once they hit 30? And it's really even once they hit 25, money starts to go to number 5, or come from number 5, and it starts to creep its way up to about number 2 or 3, right? And then once you hit 30, it takes over all of these aspects of attraction. So keep that in mind. I've seen it. I do know some people that are over the age of 30 and that I have pretty good relationships with. And when they were, in their 20s, late 20s, they did really well with women. And now that they are not really doing much with their life, their attraction has gone down pretty significantly. Okay, so number 2 is going to be face. We've gone over this in the other column. Face is always going to matter, guys. It's always going to matter. And as you get older, it's not going to be so much about having to look like a Chad or having to look extremely good looking. It's going to be more about how healthy is this person? How have they aged themselves? Have they kept up, and have they worked out and done things to still look good and ate a good diet and got proper sleep? And does their face still look good? Is a foundation there, even if they have some wrinkles? So that's going to be the main aspect. It's going to be more about how have they let themselves go? Have they put on 20 or 30 pounds? Or are they still looking really good facially, even if they don't look as good as like the 28-year-old, right? And when I say 30 plus, I'm talking more when it comes to your face. When I say wrinkles and letting yourself go, I'm talking about more like in your late 30s and 40s. But because your face is not going to change that much until about the age of 35. All right, number 3 is going to be interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills is very important. You need to have interpersonal skills. We've talked about this. This is going to be number 3. It's always going to matter. I don't care what age you are. And as you get older, interpersonal skills are probably even going to go up a bit. And there is probably going to switch with face because it's going to matter more, right? And that's why they always say fall in love with somebody for their personality and not their face, because as you age, the face is going to go away and the interpersonal skills are still going to be there. And you're going to, be with the person for who they are and not necessarily for how hot they are. Because let's face it, once you're 70, 80 years old, it's kind of hard to be hot, right? Not many people are going to be hot, and it's going to be more about who the person is and also what resources they have to bring to the table. So number 4 is going to be emotional stability. We talked about this in the other column. It's always going to matter. It's always going to be important, and it's always going to be ahead of height. I don't care what anybody says. It's always going to be ahead of height, guys. So emotional stability, make sure you guys are being emotionally stable. If you need to go to therapy, if you need to work on your trauma, it's very important that you do, because if you don't, remember, it's having a direct impact on your dating life, and not just your dating life, but likely your personal relationships outside of dating as well. And number 5 is going to be height. Like I said before, height will always matter, but it's not going to matter to the degree that people think. And it really depends on what height we're talking about, right? So if you are 5'6", 5'7", it's going to weigh a lot more heavily on attraction versus if you are, 5'11" or 6 foot, right? Then all of a sudden it's not going to weigh nearly as much. But I will say, I know plenty of guys that are, I can think of 2 guys that are below 5'5" that have very, very great success with dating. And it's because they have emotional stability, they have great interpersonal skills, and their faces are also not bad. And they're not like Chads or anything. They're not exceptionally attractive, but they're not bad looking guys, and they have all these other aspects. So I think that's proof right there that height is not the end all be all. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with more content like this. Remember this if you're 18 to 29, and remember this side if you're 30 plus. And take a screenshot or something and comment down below what you agree with, what you don't agree with. But also remember that this is all backed by science, and I can leave sources if you guys want that. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys.